Hollow Knight. At this point, practically everyone is aware of the magnificent locations and difficulty level of Hollow Knight. Personally, I believe this is one of the best Metroidvania games ever made. It has a variety of difficult enemies that will kill you multiple times. It has all the open world elements, including hidden items and secrets. As such, you can explore freely and discover some interesting hidden features throughout your journey. However, there can be times when you stumble upon some high-level bosses in hidden areas. This way, the game keeps you interested throughout the entire playthrough. It always reminds you that there is always someone stronger than you, no matter what level you are at. The story of Hollow Knight is intriguing and continues to improve over time. Some players also claim that boss fights are overly difficult since they need accurate timing. As for me, if you want to get into this game, prepare yourself for a lot of grinding. Surprisingly, after a closer look at the gameplay, you probably think that the game is quite short. But the main story of Hollow Knight will take you more than 25 hours to complete, excluding side content. The game has plenty of blood, dark environments, and mature themes. You may feel slightly bored, but if you enjoy exploring and difficulties, Hollow Knight is an excellent pick. Nevertheless, despite being such an amazing game, it's sort of sad to see that we still haven't gotten any confirmed updates or release dates about the sequel. Fans like me have been waiting for a long time for the release of Silksong, but things are looking up and we might get the sequel in fall 2024 or in early 2025. Maybe the sequel will get the original game more recognition. Cyberpunk 2077. You knew that this was going to happen. Imagine a game where you're thrown into this insanely detailed neon-soaked city that's like a mashup of all the coolest sci-fi movies you've ever seen. Yep, that's Cyberpunk for you. CD Projekt Red gave us another great open world game that is on the level of Witcher 3, but is set in a futuristic world. I guess some players are still thinking that the game is bad and there are still glitches or bugs. However, it's 2024 now, everything has been fixed, and the game is nothing like when it was first released. You start off as V, a mercenary in Night City, and right from the start, you're hit with this overwhelming sense of freedom and immersion. It's like the game opens everything for you and you can do basically everything. It's like GTA but in a much more advanced world. One of the best things besides the graphics are the modifications. Even the character creation feels too much. I'm sure some of you must have spent hours just creating your favorite character. The in-game is also filled with customizations. You can do a lot of stuff with your human body, well, if you can still call it human. Also, not just you, but even the NPCs have got their own modifications. Some are using prosthetics, some are using robotic eyes, memory chips. There's just a lot of stuff that I can't even begin to describe. Nevertheless, I think you should all give it a try. If you love playing open world games, this will be a great time to do before CD Red releases another masterpiece. Cyberpunk 2077 is an immersive RPG that sucks you into its world. Whether you're there for the story, the exploration, or the chaotic combat, there's something for every gamer to enjoy. Obviously, it's without a doubt that fans who love to explore sci-fi open worlds will find this game fascinating, as there's a lot to discover and interact with. You can easily spend over 100 hours in this game and will still miss something. This proves that the developers went all out and provided as much content as they could for the players. Sekiro. The dark, twisted world of Sekiro, where you're a one-armed ninja slicing through enemies like a hot knife through butter, except the butter fights back, and sometimes it's on fire. You play as the wolf, a shinobi with a mission to rescue his kidnapped lord in a beautifully grim version of feudal Japan. Your journey is filled with difficult landscapes, from majestic castles and serene temples to creepy forests and snowy mountains. Each environment is beautifully designed, pulling you into a world that's as dangerous as it is stunning. The combat in Sekiro is the game's crown jewel. Forget about button mashing, this is all about precision and timing. Every swing of your sword, every deflect, and every stealth kill needs to be perfect. One gamer described it as a ballad of death where every movement is calculated and every victory feels like winning an Olympic medal. The posture system forces you to stay aggressive, breaking your opponent's stance before going in for the kill. It's a relentless dance of life and death, and yes, you'll die a lot. Speaking of dying, the game's difficulty is no joke. It's harder than trying to explain the plot of a Christopher Nolan movie to your grandma. I have utmost respect to the developers for making this game. So, you can't just rush your way and kill everyone. I completed the game in the first 5 days, hence you can pretty much guess how many times I must have died. Now, one thing I want to point out is that there's a lot of content or hidden secrets you're probably going to miss in your first playthrough. That's why I recommend trying the new Game Plus and exploring everything. It's so good to stumble upon a new boss, find a new prosthetic tool, discover a new area. Sekiro is not just about combat, it's got a lot of cool stuff, same as the other Souls games. God of War Ragnarok. In God of War Ragnarok, Kratos is back with more action and a ton of new boss fights, even more than in the 2018 game. This time you'll see Kratos going all out, battling against gods, monsters, and everything in between. It's definitely one of the best God of War games, especially for newer fans who can now experience Kratos' epic journey on modern consoles with incredible visuals. I know some people might still say the 2018 game is the ultimate God of War, but trust me, Ragnarok really changes the game. It doesn't just have better graphics and visuals, it also includes over 50 boss battles, which is pretty amazing. Honestly, I had my own doubts before playing it. I was so hooked on the previous game that I didn't think anything could beat it. But Ragnarok gave us everything we wanted and even more. It's one of those sequels that truly improves on the original with new elements and exciting changes. You get to see Kratos in full berserk mode, fighting everything in his path, which is both thrilling and satisfying. I think the sequel does a great job of developing the father-son relationship. Their bond is one of the key parts of the story, and it really shines in this game. The biggest reason to play Ragnarok is that it wraps up the Norse saga. This game brings a fitting end to the Norse mythology storyline, which has been a huge part of the series. I'm really excited to see what new stories and adventures future God of War games will bring now that this chapter is closed. I don't know how many of you guys know, but it's possible that developers have given us some hints in the Valhalla DLC. Towards the end, Tyr fights with Kratos and brings out different weapons, each belonging to a certain country or period. So I'm not sure, I'm just speculating here, but we probably will go in the Japanese, Egyptian, and Mexican. So let's see what happens. I just hope they make it more interesting this time. Final Fantasy VII Remake. I can't express how amazing this game is. As someone who never played the old classic Final Fantasy games, it was a dream come true to finally play as Cloud Strife in the remake. The main reason I started playing Final Fantasy games was because I absolutely loved the look of Cloud and Noctis. Their hairstyles, outfits, and Cloud's huge, iconic sword looked so cool and awesome that I couldn't resist. Playing my first Final Fantasy game for that reason might sound small, or even trivial to some, but it was enough to get me hooked.
Drop the weapon! Go ahead. Let's go.
Sure, some players love the rebirth and the continuation of the story, but there was something uniquely special about the remake that made everyone go crazy with excitement. Maybe it's because we were getting a remake of the beloved, fan-favorite Final Fantasy VII after such a long time. The anticipation was through the roof, and thankfully, the developers didn't disappoint. They delivered a fantastic and promising game. My favorite parts of the remake are undoubtedly the stunning cutscenes and the incredible soundtrack. The music really adds to the emotional impact of the game, and the visuals are just breathtaking. However, I'm not a big fan of the turn-based combat system. I prefer action-packed, real-time combat like you find in third-person games. Even though the combat wasn't exactly my style, the game is still amazing in every other aspect. There are so many awesome looking moments that captivate you and make you a fan of Final Fantasy series. Despite all this, Final Fantasy VII Remake is the prime choice and definitely a 10 out of 10 games. The remake enhanced all the visuals, details, and graphics, so the new gen fans will also be able to experience the classic series on the modern consoles. If you're playing Final Fantasy VII Remake for the first time, you're surely in for a treat and will absolutely love the experience.
Job's a job. Let's do this.
Devil May Cry 5. DMC 5 is the definition of unstoppable awesomeness. The sharp dialogue and memorable punchlines make you feel like no monster stands a chance against you. With devilish arm, intense sibling rivalry, and thrilling battles, this game shows you just how fun it can be to defeat monsters in style while enjoying amazing cutscenes. The Devil May Cry series has always been known for its unique features, and while the previous games had their own charm, this one takes everything to the next level. The developers have polished everything and given us a fantastic tribute by including all the main characters. Playing DMC5 was a blast, especially with its high-level graphics and smooth gameplay. The best part was getting to control all the main characters throughout the game. Each mission felt fresh and exciting, and the final battle was nothing short of spectacular. The showdown between Virgil and Dante was the culmination of so much build-up from previous games, making it incredibly satisfying to finally see their rivalry come to a close. This game is a perfect example of how hack and slash games should be done. Using the various powers of the characters from Nero's Devil Arm to Dante's Sparta was a lot of fun. What's your favorite Dante weapon? Mine would have to be the nunchucks and the bike. Overall, Devil May Cry 5 offers a complete DMC experience. It captures the essence of the series so well that you don't even need to play the earlier games to enjoy it. The fifth installment is a comprehensive package with everything updated and enhanced. And of course, you can't forget Dante's Michael Jackson dance moves. What more could you ask for? Metro Exodus. Well, now let's talk about some hardcore post-apocalyptic action. Exodus is the best game in the series. Everything has been taken up a notch. The developers went all out creating an immersive world consisting of various environments along with an engaging storyline and characters. Now, when you first think of post-apocalyptic games, then most likely you think of barren lands, destroyed buildings, or some kind of virus where you're just trying to survive or finding a cure. However, trust me when I say this, Metro Exodus is so much more than that. Unlike the previous Metro games, here you're not just traveling in the tunnels. The game gives you a big open world which sometimes feels sort of linear because of how everything is arranged. You play as Artyom, whose main job is to help the other survivors by completing certain tasks and keep a check on the train. I forgot to mention, but in this game, all the survivors live on a train as the outside conditions are not safe. Therefore, it's essential that everything flows smoothly for everyone's survival. Now, you must have gotten the picture. Metro Exodus is all about traveling to different locations, ensuring the survival of humanity. Even though there's a lot of good stuff in this game, there are only 3 things that I absolutely love. The first one is the cutscenes. The game literally has some of the coolest cutscenes that will almost give you the vibe of a movie. My second best thing is the environments. Unlike other apocalyptic games, you don't just have completely destroyed areas. Instead, you'll be traveling through various landscapes. Finally, the last thing that makes the game more amazing is the storyline and the characters. At first, it looks a very simple and kind of slow-paced game, but the more you progress, the more it starts to make sense. You'll find it heartwarming as the game makes you get to know several characters and share a bond. The overall storyline is also something that you can never expect from a post-apocalyptic game. Kena Bridge of Spirits. I have talked about this game countless times on this channel. If I'm being honest, then I never would have thought that I would be mentioning a double-A game multiple times. However, all my opinions shattered as I find Kena to be extremely beautiful. The game is an example of how well small gaming studios can do with a low budget. These days when games are filled with microtransactions and other stuff, it's such a nice feeling to enjoy some decent gaming and just let yourself loose in the stunning visuals and soundtracks. Some players are skipping out on this game for silly reasons, which I think is kind of weird, as Kena showcases some quality visuals and a colorful environment.
Do you know any tricks, Kena?
The game has everything in it. There's a balanced amount of action combat, stunning visuals, seamless cutscenes, engaging storyline, and a loving main character. I believe that everything fits perfectly, making the entire game a balanced experience. If I talk a little bit of the gameplay or storyline, then you're basically a little girl exploring a forest and helping the spirits. That's it. This is kind of the easiest explanation of the plot. You're on a journey to explore and see different parts of the map while battling the creatures or monsters, ultimately helping the spirits. Not gonna lie, it's a great game and definitely worthy of playing if you want to take a break from hardcore action stuff and want some peaceful, gorgeous gameplay. Kena is the best choice.
I can see that. You both look very strong. Do you know who that spirit was with the horned mask?
We don't know, but when he shows up, the girl's poison grows stronger.
Hi-Fi Rush. I remember being shocked after playing this game and having a tremendous blast seeing the cutscenes and animations. Hi-Fi Rush is a rhythm-based game that is all about anime-style fast-paced action gameplay. You will be thrilled to see what the developers did in this game. The animations look awesome and the dialogues complement the overall style. My favorite feature of this game are its banger soundtracks and music. Every single music is perfectly suited for every cutscene or gameplay. Unlike some other games out there, Hi-Fi Rush will never let you get bored because you will get hooked to its soundtracks. Along with this, the game also has some of the coolest boss battles with distinct designs. Tell me in the comments about your favorite boss. Nevertheless, the game is a go to choose for those who prefer anime-style games, but yeah, Hi-Fi Rush will surely provide an immersive experience even if you are new to the genre. The story is entertaining with some twists and turns.
Let's rock, big boy.
Now, let's talk about some other major highlights of this game. The first one is that the characters are well written. The dialogues and voice acting are one of the finest I have seen. The second one is the ability to immerse the players in constant motion, much like the beats in a rock song. Some of the combo attacks in Hi-Fi Rush is at the level of games like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta. All this proves what Bethesda can do. I am just hoping they also release the new Elder Scrolls next year. Anyways, unlike other third-person games, Hi-Fi Rush will always keep you hooked to your seats, and the fast-paced action takes the cake.
Anyone see the guy that did this? That's the defect! What? No, I was just... Well...
Yakuza 0. I think we all have our different reasons about which game is the best, or in this case, which is more immersive. Yakuza is a series that anyone can play if they have a thing for open world exploration. The series' focus is to provide a great story combined with great characters and side activities. Every game in the series is packed with plenty of side stuff to do besides the main storyline. It's crazy to think that players can spend many hours helping the NPCs, engage in fight tournaments, cabarets club, and so much more. Now, I have mentioned this in several videos, but I can't just stop admiring what the developers did in this game. At first, Yakuza feels like a very normal game set in a Japanese environment. However, the more you progress or explore, the more amazing things start uncovering. The game has a habit of throwing side quests when you're in the middle of free roam or main missions.
何文句でもあんのかよ。あ？おい、なんか言ったらどうなんだ。しか。悪いけど死んでもらうぜ。なんなんだ。
to this day, I can confirm that there must be some stuff that I missed or never tried. This alone explains the level of immersion and content you're going to experience in this series. Now, the most important question is with which game you should start. Start with Yakuza 0, then Yakuza Kiwami 2, Yakuza 3, 4, and 5 remastered, and then Yakuza 6, The Psalm of Life. After that, you should play Judgment, which is not really connected to the Yakuza games, but still is set in the same universe. After that, Yakuza Like a Dragon. Then Lost Judgment, Like a Dragon Gaiden, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and finally Yakuza Ishin. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. How can we forget about the OG RPG game? Legend of Zelda is just really, and I mean a really great open world game that has everything to hook you from start to finish. From the moment you wake up as Link in the Shrine of Resurrection, the game just draws you in. The world of Hyrule is massive and incredibly detailed. It gives you this incredible sense of freedom, where it can climb anything, go anywhere, and the way the environment reacts to your actions is just mind-blowing. Sure, some players have different opinions about this game, but you just need to know that the game is counted among some of the best open-world RPG games for a reason. Therefore, it's no doubt that there must be a lot amazing stuff that made it so popular. Also, the new Tears of Kingdom is being loved by millions of players. One of the coolest aspects is how the game encourages exploration. There are shrines everywhere, and each one is like a little puzzle box waiting to be solved. Sometimes you'll find them by accident while wandering, or you'll see one off in the distance and just feel compelled to go check it out. Now, not just the shrines, there's a lot more to explore. The whole point of the game is to venture into the open world and see different places or kill different monsters. This is a game that's gonna devour your time, and you'll be able to spend over 100 hours and will still feel like you missed something. Also, how can we miss talking about the combat? It's super fun too, as you get a variety of weapons, each with its own feel and strategy. The durability system might seem annoying at first, but it really forces you to think about your encounters and manage your resources. Plus, there's something immensely satisfying about picking up a random goblin's weapon and using it against him. Nevertheless, this is literally one of those great OG games that you must play if you're a fan of the open world RPG games. The open world feels alive with all the NPCs, wildlife, and dynamic weather. Sometimes you'll just be walking through a field and a thunderstorm will roll in, forcing you to rethink your approach. Or you'll be scaling a mountain and see a dragon flying by. It's those moments that really make the game feel special. It Takes Two. This game got the award of Game of the Year. That's it. That's all you need to know if you want to experience something different besides normal single-player games. It Takes Two is like a roller coaster ride you never want to get off. The game is built around pure co-op magic. It's meant to be played with someone else, and trust me, that's where the fun lies. The basic story is that you play as husband and wife who are having troubles with their relationship, and suddenly you guys turn into dolls. That's how the actual game starts. You navigate through various areas, solve multiple puzzles, help each other out in the process of making your relationship better.
Cody, I'm not in the mood for this discussion again.
Hey, Rose needs both of us, okay?
That's not fair. Using her.
I'm not using her. I'm just stating a fact.
What really blew me away was how each level has its own unique mechanics that tie into the story. 1 minute, you're navigating through a garden using plant-based abilities, and the next you're messing around with time manipulation. It constantly throws new ideas at you, keeping everything fresh and exciting. There are some pretty good moments where you'll see the deep emotions between the characters and even some hilarious ones. You'll be laughing, getting a little frustrated at puzzles, and maybe even feeling a bit emotional by the end. The game does a perfect job balancing humor and gameplay. It Takes Two is a game that's all about connection, both in the story and in how you play it. It's a must-play if you're into co-op games or just looking for something genuinely fun and different.
You two must learn collaboration.
That's not our strong point.
Aha! You know, collaboration is the key to a successful relationship. Huh?
Far Cry 3. One of my favorite Far Cry games from the series. The third part was my entry into the series, and I can confirm that it didn't disappoint me. Each moment felt epic, and the way the story turns into something completely different is just magnificent. You start off as a normal human with the goal of saving your friends and getting off the island, but the entire story changes with a perfect pace, and soon you find the tribe's leader on top of you, if you know what I mean. Also, Far Cry 3 gave us one of the most iconic villains. I can clearly remember the definition of insanity. He was definitely such a great character. Now, even though the graphics are a bit outdated, trust me, nothing feels out of place. You can still have an amazing experience playing the game in 2024. The weapons, the outposts, different areas and vehicles, the freedom of hunting animals, there's literally a lot of stuff that you can do besides the main storyline, which can easily eat up to 50 hours. The gunplay feels solid, and there's something so satisfying about clearing an enemy camp using stealth, then going in guns blazing when things go sideways. The game is an absolute ride. If you've played it, you know exactly what I mean. It drops you on this insane tropical island where everything wants to kill you and you're just this dude who was on a vacation gone terribly wrong. It's not just about the story or the gameplay, but the whole experience of being on that island where everything is both beautiful and deadly. The whole game is this mix of exploration, combat, and just trying to stay alive while dealing with these intense characters. Spec Ops The Line. Spec Ops The Line is one of those games that seems like your standard military shooter on the surface, but trust me, it's anything but. This game goes deep, and I mean deep into some really heavy stuff, making you question pretty much everything by the time you're done with it. It came out back in 2012, and I think it's still one of the most underrated narrative-driven games out there because, let's be real, it didn't get the attention it deserved. You'd be forgiven for thinking it's just another bro soldier shooter, but it's more like Heart of Darkness meets Modern Warfare, with some Apocalypse Now thrown in for good measure. You play as Captain Martin Walker, leading a small squad into a sandstorm-ravaged Dubai to find a rogue colonel and his battalion. Sounds straightforward, right? Yeah, that's what you think in the beginning, but Spec Ops The Line isn't just about shooting bad guys and saving the day. It's about the cost of war, and not just in that vague war is bad kind of way. The deeper you go, the more messed up things get. Walker's descent into madness mirrors the chaos happening around him, and soon you're not even sure who the enemy is anymore. The whole game plays with your expectations, and by the end, it forces you to confront the horrible things you've done, things you probably didn't even want to do, but had no choice in. What really sets this game apart is how it messes with your head. The decisions you make feel awful, and they should feel awful. There's one scene in particular, if you've played it, you know exactly what I'm talking about, that just guts you emotionally. It's rare that a game goes out of its way to make you feel genuinely uncomfortable, but Spec Ops does, and it does it well. There are no heroes here, just people trying to survive in a situation that's spiraling out of control. And it's not just the narrative that's intense. The setting Dubai is this haunting, beautiful place buried in sand with skyscrapers half collapsed and buried like tombs. The environmental storytelling here is top-notch. You're not just moving from point A to point B, every part of the city tells a story. It feels desolate and eerie, like you're walking through the remains of a civilization that was lost long before the game even starts. Combat-wise, yeah, it plays like a third-person cover shooter, but honestly, that's not the point. The mechanics are solid, but the real focus is on how the story unfolds around you. The further you go, the more brutal and disorienting everything becomes, not just for Walker, but for the player too. The game does this thing where it blurs the lines between Walker's hallucinations and reality, so you're never quite sure what's real. It really nails that psychological horror angle in a way that most shooters don't even attempt. So if you've been sleeping on Spec Ops The Line, it's time to wake up. It's not just a game, it's an experience. It takes a hard look at the ugly side of war, trauma, and morality in a way that few games have dared to do. And even though it didn't blow up when it launched, those who have played it know it's something special. If you want a story-driven game that punches you in the gut and makes you think about it for days after, this is one you need to play. Just be prepared to feel a little broken by the end. What remains of Edith Finch? Man, What Remains of Edith Finch is the kind of game that leaves you thinking about it long after you've finished. It's not your typical game, there's no action, no puzzles that'll melt your brain, but somehow it hits harder than most games that do have all that stuff. It's more like an interactive storybook, but not in a boring, just click through the story way. This one's different. You play as Edith Finch returning to your ridiculously huge, bizarre family home, trying to uncover the mystery of your family's tragic history, and believe me, there's a lot of tragedy. What makes this game stand out is how it tells each family member's story. You're not just hearing about what happened to them, you're experiencing it. The way each narrative unfolds is totally unique. One minute, you're a little girl imagining you're a cat jumping through the trees, and the next you're in this dream-like sequence that gets so surreal, you forget you're playing a game. It's the kind of thing where each family member's tale is told in such a creative, almost hauntingly beautiful way that you can't help but feel like you're reading these old, forgotten memories. Now, this game does something I love. It turns mundane things into something special. You'll be walking around this big, weird house, opening up doors to hidden rooms, climbing into spaces you probably shouldn't be, and it all feels like you're uncovering some big secret. But the real secret is that this game isn't about solving some big mystery, it's about life and death, and how those two things are woven together. It makes you feel the weight of each family member's life, even if you only know them for a few minutes.
Grabbed on tight. But I was so hungry.
The Finch family is cursed, or at least it feels that way. Everyone meets a tragic end, and it's hard not to get a little emotional as you move through their stories. One story in particular, no spoilers, but if you know hit me like a truck. You go from feeling curious about these strange, tragic deaths to questioning how fragile life really is. It's a short game, sure, but it's the kind that leaves a mark. It's not about the length, it's about the experience. The visuals are stunning in a quiet, poetic way, and the soundtrack, it's like it was made to punch you right in the feels. By the time I reached the end, I didn't feel like I had just played a game. I felt like I had walked through a family's entire history, lived their lives, and understood them in a way that only video games can really pull off. If you've been sleeping on What Remains of Edith Finch, do yourself a favor and give it a shot. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it's human. And sometimes that's the most powerful kind of story.
I can already imagine the sun on my face.
Titanfall 2. It's been a while since I have talked about this game on the channel. Titanfall 2 is the best surprise you can ever hope from a shooting game. When I first started the game, I never knew there would be so many emotions and depth to the story. I thought it'll be another shooting game with good enough story, but I was literally shocked and touched. The bond you see between the characters is full of emotions. It's also a bit sad, but I'm sure you are going to love it. Titanfall 2 is quite an underrated game, and not many players know about it, so if you are in a mood for some underrated story experience, then this will be your best choice. BT, the Titan you partner with, becomes more than just a big robot. You actually start to care about him, which I didn't expect going in. Honestly, this is everything you need to know about the storyline without any spoilers. Unlike other shooting games, this time the story actually matters, and it's an essence of the game. Now, Titanfall is also amazing in other aspects. The moment you start playing, you feel how smooth the gameplay is, the movement, the shooting, the wall running, everything just clicks. It's like the game wants you to be as fast and fluid as possible, and once you get the hang of it, you're pulling off these crazy stunts that make you feel unstoppable. There are all sorts of different missions, and the multiplayer is where the game really shines. The mix of pilots and Titans creates this dynamic, fast-paced combat that you won't find anywhere else. You can go from running along walls, gunning down enemies, to calling in your Titan and just wrecking the battlefield in seconds. Titanfall 2 never got the appreciation it deserves, and there aren't that many players in the multiplayer servers. It's not like what it used to be. However, I'm sure that you are going to love the game.
Protect the pilot.
Nier Automata. Even before I got the chance to play this game, I knew that it's going to be amazing. Nier is a series that is really close to my heart. The game takes you on this journey among androids and machines across a destroyed open world. When you first enter the game, you will be provided with a familiar nostalgic playstyle. Then the game will introduce you to a third-person perspective, and you will soon discover the side-scrolling playstyle. So there you have it. Nier Automata is a game that gives its players a chance to experience the game in various playstyles. Such amazing stuff keeps the game fresh and engaging. Now, I'm sure the sci-fi and open world fans will love the game. It's got a beautiful main character, kind of anime style hack and slash combat, some pretty good visuals in a post-apocalyptic world, and don't even get me started on the dialogues and voice acting. However, what really stands out is the storyline. It's sad, it's touching, it's full of emotion, something you can never expect from a post-apocalyptic environment. You share a journey with your partner and experience so many different things. To be honest, I'm sure that if the game was not so much anime style or set in a colorful world, it would surely have gotten more popularity. Though that's not the issue, as the current state of the game made it so captivating. Nier Automata is a great game and it doesn't need any changes. It probably won't be for everyone, but those who finish it will find it amazing.
We're soldiers.
Life is Strange. Life is Strange is an episodic adventure game. It's slightly similar to games of the Telltale series. Your choices affect the outcome of the game and make subtle and huge changes throughout. You feel empathy for the characters in the world, and whilst handling mature themes such as depression, the game grips you to your seat. It is amazing, a masterpiece. The writers are on par with some of the best TV shows and films out there. It makes you question every choice you make, your own reality. As a player, you actually feel like you affect the relationships between the characters. The music and art design are unique and aesthetically pleasing, which is a nice change from the usual games I play. The voice acting's brilliant without spoiling anything. The twists in this game are just wow.
Every 20 years, you just zone.
No, I saw.
Finally, I must end by saying how much I recommend this game. I've experienced nothing like it before. Please try this game. You won't regret it. I really love and recommend this game. The soundtrack is gorgeous. There are emotional and touching scenes with some surprisingly heavy topics and beautiful scenery throughout. All I'm trying to say is that the game is something different and will be a perfect choice if you are solely in a mood for some story experience. It tackles a lot of mature themes, but everything turns out to be great. You probably feel bored if this is your first time playing slow-paced, sort of dialogue-focused games, but please stay patient, as I'm sure you will definitely love this game. Life is Strange is one of my favorite story games, and I can't wait for the third part. Also, check out the sequel if you have played the original.
Obviously, she was a good friend. I've got my power to protect you, right?
The Wolf Among Us.
All right, everyone.
There are only a few Telltale games that a lot of players know about. This one is one of them, along with Walking Dead and Batman. The Wolf Among Us is a pretty good game if you're in a mood for some mystery episodic adventure. It's got a different art style. You will feel as if you're playing a comic book game that came to life. The game also doesn't shy away from tackling some mature themes. You will uncover murders, solve mysteries, and visit some mature places. Wolf Among Us is set in a world where characters called Fable live among regular people. You play as an awesome sheriff of Fabletown and are tasked with finding what's going on in your area. Throughout the story, you make a lot of decisions. It's intense because you feel the weight of every decision and you know it could come back to bite you later. Every decision or choice you make will shape the entire story. You feel like you're in control and everything happens because of your choices. It's a game that's not just about solving a mystery, but about the characters you meet and how your interactions with them shape the world around you. It's short, but it definitely leaves an impression. Low-key, I just want to say that before I got the chance to play this game, I always thought that it's about the Marvel character, the Wolverine. Overall, if you want to experience a short, underrated story in a comic book art style, then The Wolf Among Us will be your best choice. It can also be a great entry point to get into the Telltale game. Truly one of my favorite games, and a must-play for every story lover fan. Telltale: The Walking Dead. This game will be a great choice, along with The Wolf Among Us, to get into something different. Both of these games have a different art style than your usual games like Witcher, Red Dead, Sekiro. Walking Dead is such a great series and probably one of the most known zombie series. The game is sort of underrated as not many people know about it. However, Telltale games are quite fun and they certainly tackles different issues than just basic action. There's a lot of stuff going on that will always keep you on your toes and will make you feel engaged. Rise of the Tomb Raider. I love Tomb Raider and I'm a huge fan of the series. The recent trilogy is one of the best action-adventure game out there. All of the 3 games feature unique settings and are pretty great as they feature some awesome combat and a perfectly paced storyline. But for a 10 out of 10 pick, I would pick Shadow, honestly, because I really enjoyed it, but for most people, it would be either Rise of the Tomb Raider or Tomb Raider 2013. The game kicks off with a little bit of recap and the usual Lara looking through documents, stumbling upon something unique, which in this part is an ancient elixir of immortality.
Quem são vocês?
Now, this is just a kind of prologue, because the perfect start of the game is on a snowy mountain, where you're traveling with your best friend Jonah, and suddenly a snowstorm hits, giving us one of the best in-game cutscenes. From that point on, you enter a place where the NPCs are fighting with the Trinity, which is the villain organization of the game. In short, the entire story is about how you win and stop Trinity from acquiring the elixir. Now, the developers really outdid themselves and made some significant improvements. They perfected each and every feature from 2013's reboot and also added some other cool stuff. I'm just saying that Rise is one of the best games in the franchise. The 2013's release is basically a reboot and a great entry to get into the series. If you love some action combat plus a good storyline, then definitely you should give Rise a shot. The game's world is stunning. The graphics are top-notch, and the snowy environments are beautifully crafted. Also, I really like this new Lara, unlike others who hate the new character. She looks beautiful and is just perfect in my opinion. The tombs you explore are more intricate and rewarding compared to the previous game, which was a big plus for me. They're like little puzzle rooms that really make you think and feel like an adventurer. Overall, Rise of the Tomb Raider is a thrilling and immersive experience. If you liked the first game, you'll definitely enjoy this one.
You look terrible. Terrible, but happy.
I was right, Jonah. Dad was right. The divine source is real. I wish he was here to see this.